We just want to thank everybody for coming to our second day of the Business Marketing 101. Michelina will be presenting as well as Wendy. Hello. We are glad everybody was able to make it to the second event. And a thank you to Alluvial Wealth for sponsoring our event today. Welcome, Michelina.
Thank you. All right, guys. I didn't scare you off from the first time. Good. If you didn't already get one of these, pick one of these up if you like. There's also an evaluation beside that when we get done with the presentation. If you could fill that out, I'd appreciate it. I am going to send everybody tomorrow afternoon an electronic copy of this because as we go along, you'll see there's a lot of links. And that can be like your homework to kind of look at that kind of stuff later on your own time. Because I know we can't cover it all today, links and all. So I'm Michelina Lacey, and I go by Mickey for short. If Michelina is like, oh my gosh, how am I going to remember that? Who am I? Well, I work for the Small Business Development Center, which is housed at Ashland University. But I also hold satellite office hours here in Marion at Marion Tech downtown location here down the street. I'm usually there the first Monday and third Thursday. So you can, if after today and you're like, oh, I want to talk to her and, maybe have an appointment, our services are free of charge. So I'm happy to help you through any of this. And we talk more than just marketing. We go over business plans, financials, pretty much any type of question a business owner may have. I probably have a resource to help you, and it's normally free. So check us out. And in my free time, I like hiking and camping, and my little granddaughter and my little doggy, Miley. I just want to go over this slide again from last session because marketing in general is all about building relationships. When you can make an emotional connection with somebody, that's, a good thing. There's something to be said about a handshake and saying hello to somebody, even in this digital world. It's important. But as a digital marketer, you can also make that emotional connection too without physically. It's a little bit harder, but it can be done. So and I wanted to say Wendy's also going to be kind of like a expert in the field today, so she's going to chime in with stuff too as we kind of go along if she sees the need or she thinks. I want you all to do that too because you're all experts in your own way, and maybe there's something you can share that the rest of us aren't aware of, so feel free. I do want to mention that a website is probably your gateway, especially if you don't have a brick and mortar. It's a gateway to everything marketing wise. So consider, not every business necessarily needs a website, but a lot of them, it really helps them. Even if it's just something you put on your business cards, like if you have a cheap website, just as like a virtual brochure for your business when people want to find out more about you or do more research. So consider, and it should also be mobile and SEO optimized. So, we went over a little of that last week, but if you want to learn more, reach out to me. And then, after you develop that website, then you start developing those social media channels because sometimes when you do advertisements on social media, maybe you're driving traffic to a certain place. Maybe you want to drive it to your website. So, it's good to have that website in place first before you start putting all your contact information and marketing information out there on the web. You kind of want to have everything together, basically. And you can grow somewhat organically on the web, taking advantage of Get Your Business Online, like with Google or some of those other like directories. You can usually get on those for free. I know Google's is free. And Google also has a lot of other tools that helps you track. Like I have a Google listing, and on a monthly basis I get an email and it says how many phone calls I got from that, how many people use the directions to find me at my office or whatever like that. So it's kind of helpful for me to figure, you know, is that working for me? And occasionally they'll throw you free ad credits you can take advantage of, so it's kind of a nice little thing. And a lot of people use Google to search. I don't know if the clickers think. Yeah. And then, you know, developing the paid advertising strategies kind of comes last, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. There's so many apps and social media outlets out there. We're not even going to cover all of them today. I try to cover the big ones. Facebook will have a bigger focus on, but we'll also go into why maybe Facebook shouldn't be your only outlet too. So it can kind of be overwhelming, you know, and each of these different social media channels maybe work better for certain businesses. So, and so that's the thing you want to think about is, okay, I can't manage possibly in an effective way all these social media channels at once. So I got to focus on a few key ones that work best for my business. And how you figure that out is, last week we kind of went over target marketing and trying to figure out who your target market is. And that's important because you want to really make sure all that you're doing and all the efforts you're putting forth and all the paid advertisements you're doing is going towards that target market. If you try to just market to everybody, you're going to probably waste some money because not everybody's going to be your target market for most of you. And I find with paid advertising, especially on social media, if you can be really niche-y about it, and we'll talk more a little bit about that, you're going to be more effective in your efforts. So, you know, Facebook's a good one for general. I mean, everybody should have a Facebook presence. Whether you focus on it or not, everybody should have a Facebook because it's the most general, we're like the general population, you know, we all typically have a Facebook account if we have any social media at all. And you could still get some organic reach. It's getting harder and harder. Facebook obviously is pushing people to those paid advertisements more and more. It's hard to figure out the algorithms between Google and Facebook and, you know, trying to figure out how you get seen and shown. And sometimes I swear Facebook hates me and my SBDC account. So don't follow my SBDC account because basically I'm locked out of doing anything on that and I can't figure out why. I don't know what I did wrong. I guess I'm a terrorist, but no. So Instagram's another good one, especially if you're targeting the slightly younger. A lot more of the younger crowd are on Instagram, but a lot more of the 30, 40-year-olds are getting onto Instagram too. You know, it's a great tool if you have a visual product because it's all about visuals, photos, and whatnot, but we'll talk more about Instagram. And Twitter, I'll be honest, I have a Twitter account, but I'm never on it. I never got into it, so I'm not an expert in Twitter. But if a news organization here, 24/7, I'm sure you use Twitter a lot. I'm sorry, I caught you mid-bite. Because, you know, that's a good tool for people that are doing things that are trending now or happening events, or, you know, that's the first place people go sometimes when there's something going on because they get news quickly from that source. So,
Can I?
Sure.
I do love Twitter. I'm a work person, not a pictures person. So I run the Marion Tech account, and I have a personal account. So if anybody wants to talk about Twitter, I love that it is so immediate in joining a conversation. I don't know, it's a great place to go find new people, but to make contacts and kind of connect with people in a way and seem relevant. For any of these, I would say just the one thing is to make sure if something is trending, why is it trending? You need to make sure you understand the conversation before you join it. So it's something trending because a celebrity died, because they got exposed to the scandal. So if you'd like to talk about Twitter, I can chat with you.
And LinkedIn, of course, is more of a professional space. If you do a lot of business to business, LinkedIn obviously is a good tool for that. It's a good tool to find employees and kind of demonstrate your culture as a company too. You know, and while you may be a small business that's growing with just a few employees, you know, it's such a dog-eat-dog world for employees out there. You got to do everything you can to keep your good employees happy and, you know, there. TikTok, we won't even really go over it, but it can be a fun, if you want to show the personal side of yourself, like on videos or something, it's a fun way to create little videos and stuff, and people respond to that as an entertainment factor, because it shouldn't all be about selling. You want to show your personal self. And
so I actually use TikTok a lot for personal reasons and then also for my other avenues, and especially for clothing brands or occasion spots. That is a great way for it to blow up immediately. Also, the trends are not as diverse as as Instagram, so it's a great way to sell your products as well as to show the marketing side of your products.
yeah. And Snapchat, it's another one where you can kind of show your personal side. Things don't last long when you post, unless you post to what they call your storyboard at the top, but it's a great way to just show your fun, personal side, which is important in marketing, just as important as trying to get those deals and selling aspects out. Now, okay, so you're probably wondering what's most popular to post, because posting and deciding what to post can be maybe the biggest challenge with social media, because you just run out of steam and ideas when you're trying to do 20 million things at once in your business. Video and images rule the world. For whatever reason, live video hits, especially Facebook and even the other social medias, it's more effective oftentimes than just putting a post with a picture. You know, you get more engagement through that. And if you're not comfortable with going live, I know a lot of my clients, they give me the deer in the headlight look when I say, we gotta go live. I'm still trying to talk one into it for years now. But if you're not into that, you could do the edited, more short form video, because, you know, then if you say something stupid, you can edit it out or not post that. So obviously, you know, people go for entertainment on a Facebook. They're not going, or any social media for matter. We're going there to kill boredom, be entertained, catch up with friends and family. So, you know, GIFs and memes rule the world, and you can use that to your advantage to post a few of those that are relevant to your business. Text-based posts just don't get as much love. You know, I call it the ADHD syndrome. We're all just scrolling through, and Snapchat and Instagram makes it, and Twitter even, you know, you just scroll very quickly through these things, even quicker than Facebook. So people don't want to read long text typically. Now you can put that in the comments or put that below if people want to read more, or that's why a link to your website's important for people that are really interested, but you're going to lose them fast if you just post all words constantly.
I don't see hashtag on there. What do you think about hashtag?
Well, we'll talk about hashtags too, and there's some back and forth on hashtags and how many to use, and we'll kind of talk about why I think there's back and forth on that. You know, URL links to other content. It used to be, I don't know if Facebook's algorithm still does this, but if you put too many outside links on like your website to take you off of Facebook, you kind of get less Facebook love, because their goal is to keep you on Facebook as long as possible. And I'm sure others have kind of similar algorithms. But, you know, if it's relevant and important to what you're doing, go ahead, yeah, share those other contents, because your customers may appreciate it or may make that connection with you more. And audio, of course, that kind of goes along with video. It's almost annoying when you're scrolling and you get that loud obnoxious, but it does catch your attention, right? You kind of take a second look at it, so. And this is just an infographic, and I know these probably don't show up well on your printouts, but that's why I also like providing the electronic link, and there'll be other links and stuff. But this is just interesting to me. It's like the most updated statistics on, well, that says that's 2014, that's weird. That's different than the, anyways. There's probably so many statistics out here, but it's just kind of interesting to me. Kind of shows who's using those more than others, but I'm sure the numbers are even higher than this now. you know, it's not impossible to grow Facebook without doing paid advertisements. It's getting a lot harder to do that. And obviously paid advertisements should be part of your strategy because you do get a lot of bang for your buck on online marketing. But that's not always feasible. Sometimes, you know, that week or whatever, your marketing budget's zilch. I get it, you know. Small businesses are working on a bootstrap budget sometimes. Some weeks are worse than others. So the big thing is engagement. Anything you can do to get engagement is going to get you more organic love. So you look at your posts too. After you post something, you know, it's just a guinea pig situation for marketing in general. You throw something on the wall and see if it sticks. There are some consensus and some do's and don'ts, I guess, that are pretty relevant to everybody across the board. But your target market's probably going to be different than everybody else's in this room. And how that target market responds to what you put out there is going to be different. So go back to the analytics within your Facebook page. Look at those posts that are responding well and see if there's a trend or pattern there, and, you know, post more of that stuff. You can even measure how popular your links are. I do recommend doing this, and you know, you should include a call to action in whatever you do too. Like what is it you're wanting your people to do? Like your page, go to your website, buy your product. You know, what is that call to action? Give you a call, get leads, and you could kind of measure who's actually looking and responding to your post by putting one of these. Because you could go back to this website, you know, you create an account at bit.ly or I guess Google, and I think you could do up to like $50 a month for free before you have to pay for a subscription. And that's just an easy way for a low budget marketer to really track their success, because you don't want to do all this work and put money into stuff and wonder if it's working or not. Add video tags to be more discoverable. We'll talk about, well, no, I guess we talked about tags last week. There's little descriptions like meta tags and stuff you can put in.
Can you go into more detail about the CTA measurement?
Well,
Using the bit.ly.
well, you're just, you can measure your call to action by what action that person takes. Obviously, if you make that sale or they make that phone call, but sometimes, you know, maybe you're just trying to build awareness, so you didn't really build in a buy here type of call to action. So you're still wondering, are people seeing what you're doing? So that just helps, you know, you go log into the bit.ly website, and it'll show you how many people looked at that post and, you know, maybe give you a few analytics.
So it's kind of linked, that post is linked to that program.
Yep,
And
yep.
that'll give you the traffic and what's kind of coming.
So an example of how I use Bitly, and I did public relations for the American Cancer Society for about a decade, and then I do it now for Marion Technical College. I've been there for about 7 years. I've never paid for an account. I just set it up free at bit.ly with your email address to log in. I didn't know that they charged at $50. I've never hit that in a month.
Yeah, that would be hard for a small business.
But for an example of how I would use that, so the college is always hiring, right? You always have people leaving, people coming, we're looking for adjuncts. And the URL that you go to apply for our jobs is hideous. It's like the entire top of the screen. It is a horrible link. I would never recommend posting that. So I just copy that horrible link into my post, and I can edit it. So it's bit.ly/MTC jobs or MTC employment, and it lets you know what's available. And then every time you use that, you can go into your Bitly account, and it will show you how many people clicked on that. So every time I put that in our e-newsletter or on our Facebook or on our Twitter account, I can go and see, and where did they come from? Where do they live? How many people was that post effective for me? And it doesn't look like crap. So if we do something where we're, you know, making flyers or brochures or something like that, we're not telling somebody to copy a URL that's this long and put it in here. It tells me, and you can, I think if if you do a paid account, you can go in and reroute that. But like I use that, you know, there's some services that we're never going to change the link to. Like mental health for college students is a big deal, especially in the middle of a pandemic. So I think I have MTC, you know, bit.ly/MTC suicide prevention or MTC mental health. And I can, every time, you know, it's suicide awareness or there's something that I want to share, I can go in and post that link and it'll show me, hey, on this date at 7 p.m., you got a bunch of people off your Facebook. You know, this newsletter. Or, hey, that wasn't an effective tool because only one person clicked on the link. You know, if my goal is to drive people to use the services, that didn't work. I should try something else next time. So, if you don't have a Bitly account, I highly recommend using it for A, not being ugly, B, being free, and C, giving you all that back-end information to know who's looking at it, when are they clicking on it, how are they using it. So, yeah, I find it really helpful.
Yeah, thanks, Wendy, for sure. Yeah, I've used them, but I haven't used them as much as that, so that's very helpful for anybody who's doing marketing. And this was interesting to me because we talked about live videos. They get watched 4 times as long and followers engaged 5 times as much. That's usually because if you've noticed, if you've ever watched them, they kind of annoy me, frankly, but so they tend to take a while to get started. They're, hello, Sally, hello, oh, blah, 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 blah. But it works. People love that interaction. They love the engagement. They feel like they're talking to a real person, and that's the closest you're going to get when you're doing online to have a meaningful engagement. And people will engage with you and comment because they want to be part of the conversation. And this was kind of an example of what the Bitly, I don't even know what you call those, Bitlys are.
A Bitlink.
Bitlink.
It will auto-generate something that's shorter, but also ugly, that you can just go in and customize it. So I just keep Googling, you know, I keep trying different combinations that make sense.
So you can change the title, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, you know, bit.ly/MTC jobs or MTC employment or MTC marketing. Because people will remember that more than they would like to retype.
I've used it for once for HTMLs. I would take that giant address and put it down to a smaller bit, but not to the extent of tracking more of the demographic.
Yeah, I think they've evolved a bit over time to provide that extra service, and it's kind of cool.
Every once in a while you get somebody from like Russia, like you're like, oh, they're looking for me.
Yeah.
But I would recommend if it's anything where somebody might have to type it as opposed to clicking a hot link, you know, just make it something that is a word that makes sense for people to retype.
Here's just a few tools. Again, you'll get the links so you can go straight here and do a little bit more research. There's a lot of, you know, Facebook's good because of all the information they collect on you. We're going to talk about the bad side of that here shortly, but they have so much information on your interests, your likes, any engagement you do on Facebook. So if you're a person who personally uses that and you like this page and you do, you know, they get a kind of an idea of who you are as a person, the kind of things you're more passionate about, the products and services that resonate with you more. So you'll obviously see a lot of ads, and yes, they do listen to you. Google listens to you, Facebook listens to you, so it's no coincidence that, oh, well, we were talking about this, and then I see this ad on my, it happens. It's kind of scary, but at the same time, as a business owner, you could really target market very well on Facebook and other social medias, and Google because of that. Facebook especially, just because they've got data that other, like Google, doesn't necessarily have access to. Google will have access to your search history and stuff, but they don't necessarily like it, you know. And they get it wrong too. Obviously, you get ads and you're like, what the heck? Who does Facebook think I am? Or something, you know. You get wild stuff too. It's a computer. It doesn't always get it right. But Insights, they've dived into a lot of trends and analyzed a lot of their users. So it's helpful to go on there because you may have an idea, and the hard part is, you know, it's a national trend, so what's trending now may not even be trending here in these rural parts like Marion, but it gives you an idea of what, kind of like what's next, so you can kind of be prepared. The Creative Hub tool is great. If you're not a creative person, you're not a graphic designer, you can go there and it'll help you kind of design some things. There's still some limitations that I wish, and some of those limitations maybe means you need to create some of your own material too with pictures that you already have and stuff, but you can alter them and do a lot of cool things with like Canva, Adobe Photoshop Express, PicMonkey. Anybody else have any? I know somebody had mentioned something last week and I can't remember. But there's different tools to use to create your advertisements. So I'm sure there's all kinds of apps for picture altering, on your phone too. So use those, make your things more interesting and poppy. And I do recommend, if you haven't already, for your business account, create your business manager tool. It's free. It's just, it makes it, you show more analytics behind the scenes than just the basic one. I don't know why they just don't give it to you off the cuff anyways, especially since it's free. But I do recommend tagging into that because it just gives you more options even when you're doing stuff in Ad Manager to create ads for your business. And if you're going to, manage multiple social media accounts, that could be the difficult thing. So you could use things like Hootsuite, Animato, Buffer. There's all kinds out there, but it kind of helps so that you're not reinventing the wheel on all of them. The hard part is how you post on each channel is going to be a little different as to what's most effective on that. Obviously, you could post a little bit of a longer text message on your post here, whereas Twitter, that wouldn't apply because it's very short and succinct. So,
Just to chime in, I do like scheduling your posts. Whatever you do, make sure you can be consistent at it. So it can suck up tremendous amounts of your day. But one thing I like is that Facebook bot Instagram, so you can post across both platforms, although slightly different ones, get the analytics that way. I like TweetDeck, so I can schedule my tweets out. So I'm going to be on vacation in a couple weeks. Our account will remain live, and I can just occasionally check into it on my phone with the Facebook Business Manager app, but I don't have to do things. Does anybody else have free scheduling apps that they like to use that we should share?
I do know you can do that, because I used to do that, schedule time for something personal, more long and stuff, but I have to. That's not handy though.
Yeah, so I really like being able to do that, and then, because the time that she has a great presentation coming up on the different times to post, but often the time that you're working is not necessarily the time that most people are clicking, so.
and Google Analytics, I can't say enough about, using that on your website. You can even use that on Facebook because it is a little bit more robust than maybe Facebook's analytics, but, and actually use it, don't just put it on your website, forget about it. Actually use it. See when people are coming to, especially if you're trying to drive people to your website. And then here's just some tips. She said post regularly and consistently. That's the biggest thing you can do. It always aggravates me when I go to a business Facebook page and they haven't posted in like 6 months or a year or something, and you kind of wonder, are they still alive? Are they still working it? And plus, then I'm not seeing them in my news feed. And the thing with marketing is, people got to see something 7 to 12 times before they think about it. And sometimes you provide a product or service that maybe the frequency of use isn't a whole lot anyways. So they, if you can get them reeled in and think about you when they need that service, it's the best.
I would say as somebody whose college has, people turn over, everybody moves jobs, make sure you have multiple redundancies for this and somebody knows all the passwords. God love it, on Twitter, I don't know if it was a past director or some students, but somebody created Marion Campus activities. Nobody can find the username and hashtag, but Twitter won't delete it for us. So it's just out there and hasn't had any updates since 2016. So, any of us could get hit by a bus or get COVID and be out. So whatever you do, make sure it's not in the hands of one employee where if something, they have a family crisis and, or they get hit by a tornado or whatever, that somebody else can go in and help. And I would say
good advice.
One of the other key things is you're engaging with the public. So it's important to be prepared that occasionally you get people who are unhappy with the public. So you want to definitely think about how are you going to handle that? And there's two audiences with that. One is the person that's mad at you, right? And some people will never be happy with you no matter what you do. Hopefully, most people are reasonable, but some people will not. The other audience is everybody that can view that. So one of the most train wrecky things I've ever witnessed is when I worked for the American Cancer Society, so probably about a decade ago, Planned Parenthood made one decision to stop funding all sorts of research that made some people upset. And then they got a bunch of complaints, and then they reversed their position. So they made 100% of the people that cared about a specific topic angry at them in one day. I felt so bad for their marketing people. And so you think about how are you going to react, how are you going to respond, and my best strategy as a public agency, we generally don't delete or hide comments because of First Amendment unless it's porn, abusive, threatening. Like we have a written policy. These are the ones we will take down or at least hide. You know, we're not going to let you, you know, sell your raging Nigerian uncles, you know, scam. But you know, you want to be kind and polite. You want to use your best active listening. Like maybe have an active response. How am I going to respond to this? You know, and the best thing for me is, can we take it offline? Can I talk to you in your DMs? Can you send me your contact information? Can we have a conversation? But if you can't make that one person that's unhappy, you want to make sure everybody else that reads that thinks, these are good people that listen and care about their customers.
Are there any services out there? Because quite honestly, I'll be in the kitchen 99.9% of the times. Are there any services out there that kind of take that task on for you, that will maintain your page and different things like that, or make posts, or keep things current and relevant?
I think you could definitely hire somebody to do that. I know Kate Fisher with Red Brick Marketing, I think she knows those kinds of things. There's lots of like boutique services and other people around who may have that expertise that you could hire to outsource that. Because yeah, that's a good point. You gotta have time running your business.
Right.
But you know, if you're a food truck like that, kind of with the coffee and crop today, you know, making sure that people know where the truck is going to be, what they're going to do, what their special offers are, you know, that that interaction's out there. But yeah, you can absolutely offload it, even if it's just somebody that loves doing it. My sister-in-law did a multi-level marketing, which I generally do not recommend because they don't make most people money, but she was fantastic at it. I mean, she was great. It was a makeup company, so she's very pretty, fashionable, so she would, you know, do the live videos, putting on makeups, giving makeup tips, shout-outs to her friends, all those kinds of things. So there might even be somebody who's just a really heavy user with free time as a stay-at-home mom, or somebody who's unemployed or underemployed that wouldn't mind managing that for you.
Yeah.
You know, depends on how much you want to pay and how much. But she was a phenomenal person at that. She just did not make a lot of money off of it, but she was great. Thanks.
Yeah, scheduling time, and if you don't have the time, sometimes just sitting down on a day when you do have a little bit of time, and like she said, going into the schedule aspect of your social media. Facebook has it where you can schedule out posts a week or two in advance. Now, if you pay like Hootsuite or something for that service, you can even take it out farther. You can plan out farther and do a little bit more with the paid service, but I do suggest keep it engaging, keep it relevant, keep it regularly and consistent. I do suggest too, if you're kind of unsure of how to lay this out, follow your peers on your social media. Facebook has a watch page feature, so you can watch certain people that are kind of in similar industries and see what they do. We call that benchmarking in the marketing world. Don't try to be everything to everyone. That's any type of marketing. Pick some niches, focus on a few niches, because it can be overwhelming. It's sometimes overwhelming for me when I'm working with clients. I'm like, well, we can go this way, or we can go this way. What's your objective? What's your main focus here? And analyze your results. And engagement drives success. So you want people to like your pages and comment and stuff. And we're going to have a slight conversation on boosting versus ad manager. A lot of my clients, they've been doing boosting because, of course, Facebook prompts you to do that periodically. They almost bug you about it. Boosting's great, especially for those posts that are already popular, that you've looked at in your analytics. Maybe it got a lot more engagement than other posts. Consider boosting those, because obviously your target market already resonates with that. It's usually great for just maximizing your visibility, building that awareness that you exist too, or announcing an event or something. Ad ads manager, though, I like that so much better if you're actually doing a marketing campaign, because you want to have the option to really target and not be so general with, okay, we're just going to target this geography and target like everybody 18 to 65. You know, you want to be able to have that customization.
The simplest way that I think of things differently is, are you trying to make people that already like you excited about something? Or are you trying to reach new customers? So, because boosting only works for people that already like your page, generally. That's the focus of who it goes on. So you've got a big announcement, Zach maybe has an exciting announcement about a new location or growth or an opportunity, and he wants everybody to come to that ribbon cutting, that kickoff, that ceremony. You know, boosting might make sense in that, because he wants everybody that already knows and likes News Force 24/7 to come and engage and maybe be talking about it if they can, or to watch it live. But ads manager, so like we did an annual breast cancer walk, and almost all of our walkers were women between the ages of like 35 and 64. That's who our bread and butter was. And I even analyzed people that tended to walk, from what zip codes did they come from. And so when I wanted to reach more walkers, I could target my Facebook ads to women in those zip codes between 35 and 64. And if I was patient enough that had an interest in breast cancer. So if you are patient enough and will let it run long enough, you can micro-target your audience. Because my goal at that point, we already had, you know, our loyal walkers had already signed up for the year, but we wanted more walkers to join them. So that's what I would use Ads Manager for, is, you know, Cindy, do you want the people who are already members to come to your special event that's coming up, or do you want to get, you know, new members, new kids, maybe people that aren't aware of the Exploratorium New Hub? So that's kind of how I would pick between the two.
And you really gotta utilize those objectives. When you get in there, well, we'll kind of show you what that looks like. But you really have an idea. You can't just go in there and create an ad and not have an idea of what you want to do. You kind of have to have that kind of figured out first. And Wendy made a good point too. If you already kind of know the demographic information on your target market, she knew that from previous events. Of course, if you're brand new, it's a lot harder. But that's where analyzing your stuff becomes important, because you can kind of see who's already resonating with your brand and company. Because sometimes it's not who we think it's going to be. There's been a few businesses that I've helped that they were quite surprised at who was actually coming into their store that they didn't anticipate, but that created a new marketing opportunity for them as well. And a lot of the ads managers set up very similarly to Google platform ads. We're not going to talk about Google platform ads today. I don't know why I didn't include that. I mean, there's just so much we can talk about, honestly. But Google, you know, you could pick keywords they've got a keyword planner, so you can see which keywords are most popular and how much you're probably going to have to pay for that keyword. The more popular it is in your area, the higher the price for that keyword. But you want to choose the ones that you think your target market are going to click on. And that's good for services like plumbing services, where you know someone's going to search the directory list and you want to show up first, or you want to show up in certain ads or something, so you kind of overshine everybody else who's not necessarily doing that advertisement. So here's what it looks like kind of behind the scenes when you're choosing your objective. So these are the things you need to decide before you do your ad. Are you trying to build awareness? Are you trying to get them to consider you in some way, either engage with you or provide a lead to you, or install an app or drive traffic to a website, or whatever the case may be? Or are you trying to actually make a conversion to a sale, or, you know, visit your store website or come into your store physically? And we look at this kind of customer purchase funnel as, you know, at the very bottom, we all want to advocate for our business and build that awareness that we exist. And then, you know, the customers in the consideration stage, when they're kind of looking at your page and still trying to decide between you and the competitors. Then they kind of develop preference. Maybe the benefit of this product's better than the other one. Then they make that purchase. And you hope that they make that purchase and not have buyer's remorse afterwards too, because you want them to come back afterwards. That's why quality and good customer service is so important too. And then loyalty. You know, you build that loyalty through that customer service, through that customer engagement, through that connecting on an emotional level in your marketing. And, you know, and hopefully have a loyal customer that talks about you and advocates your business to their friends and family. So brand awareness is whenever you're trying to drive traffic or create direct sales or build some type of engagement. Whereas reach is just wanting to be seen by as many people, maybe having that post with as much engagement as possible. When you're talking about the objective of consideration, you're usually driving traffic away from your Facebook and maybe to something else that you want them to see. More engagement, obviously more likes, more comments, more whatever with the actual ads on your Facebook, or an app install, or video. Okay, we already went through this. Conversions, you know, you're trying to take them all the way to the end of the process here and make that purchase. And with conversion, it's a little bit more of a complex tool to use. It's one that, this is the one where, yeah. Facebook has a cool tool that if you do advertising with them regularly, you know, they're building analytics, they're making your advertising more better in the long run. So the more you use it, the more fine-tuned it becomes to reaching your target market, because it wants to be relevant for you, because it wants you to come back and spend more money on it. So just like Google, you know, they try to provide the most relevant search things. And that's why if you try to, you know, do black hat tricks, like put keywords that aren't relevant to your website in your website or something, Google's come put you on the bottom of the list because they know you're just trying to, I don't know, clickbait or whatever, get people to your website and not be relevant to what that person actually wants. But to get to that point, like I said, you have to have so many ads in place for Facebook to really look at it. So, like I said, Facebook locks me out. So this is behind the scenes. The client let me dig into their Facebook manager, and for letting me use her thing, I said, if anybody is interested in Reiki services, I'll pass your card out. But then this isn't the ad we created. I was just kind of playing around and creating some things. So you can kind of see, if you've never been in this before, you can make they make it so user-friendly. You can do automatic. Now I say it's user-friendly. I had a hell of a time when I was creating an ad because I didn't like this person's real logo. And I mean, it's good and bad. It does these things so it's kind of foolproof and so that you're more successful, but it's kind of annoying because you're not quite sure, okay, it doesn't give you enough detail sometimes to let you know what you need to change. So you got to just kind of play around with it till it works. So hopefully you don't have that bad luck when you're posting too. But yeah, be very specific in your descriptions and to whatever, you know, that ad is. And this kind of shows you, this was a carousel ad, so I could create like 5 pictures in this ad. So it was having me select media. And it suggested how many people were going to reach with this. And it did reach about maybe 5,000 or 6,000 people when I did actually put the ad totally together. And here's where you get into the important stuff too. The audience details here, you really want to use that feature, not just geographically either. Think about other Facebook pages your target market would be frequenting. Think about interests they may have. That's why it's a lot easier and you're typically more successful when you can focus on a certain niche. Maybe you offer multiple products and services, but if you can just focus on one of those to advertise, you're probably going to be a little bit more successful. But then I get but Nikki, when I do this, my reach decreases and decreases and decreases. Yes, it does, but the people you're targeting in that reach are more likely to respond favorably to that advertisement than just trying to target everybody. You know, I may have 100,000 people I'm targeting, but if they're not my customers, so you got, because Facebook can't get it all the way correct, you know, so you have to put some identifiers and some interests and some key things in there to help drive that. And, you know, this is the intersection that I'm talking about, where detailed targeting. And, you know, these are things that, they've got a laundry list of things you can choose, but you can be more vague with it, but the more focused you are, if you've got that persona in your mind of who's most likely to use that at that moment, you've got a better situation. So take, you know, previous statistics and analytics that you've used and use that to your advantage, because you know who's going to more likely respond to your stuff then. Okay, so there's different campaign options too, and you'll see it here in the campaign section. We can do what's called an A/B test. And what that really means is, because what did we say? It's like you're guinea pigging this. You're just seeing what sticks, what actually gets the most engagement or gets the most people in your door. So sometimes we don't know what our target market's going to respond best to. You can play around with the fonts, the colors, the themes, whether you put a person's face on there or a picture of a product that you're trying to sell or something, and play around with what resonates better. Sometimes faces actually resonate better, because I guess we see ourselves in those advertisements more. It's more personal, more human. But you can kind of see what resulted in a better analytics at the end of that campaign. Like, you do 7 days, and take note, the longer you go, probably the more successful you'll be too. 7 days is really a short period of time to really try to drive that. But, you know, you could do it relatively inexpensively too for just 7 days. And you could get into more complicated things such as the ad set level, which just optimizes your campaign, but that's probably not for beginners. Of course, we detail our targeting based on demographics, their interests, and their typical buying behaviors. And this kind of just shows, you know, what some of your results were on some of these and impressions. So when they talk about audiences, Facebook has core audiences, which is basically the ones you set as your target audience, and usually set them manually, like we talked about, with their detailed interests, behaviors, demographics, whatever. And then we have custom audiences that, you know, you can upload into your contacts into Facebook, that maybe are your existing customers. But Facebook has another tool that's kind of cool called lookalike audience. So it takes that current customer kind of demographic or profile you created, and it finds people like that in that target area. They call them the lookalike audience. So that's kind of helpful as well. And, you know, audience insights, I think we maybe mentioned this before, but that's, again, go there, get some idea on some of trends and interests and behaviors. And yeah, we've kind of mentioned this. They're more likely to purchase your products and service. That's why you want to use this tool, because it's better than just trying to figure that out on your own through just interests alone. And Facebook pixels, I don't know if we talked about this. No. If you install that on your website, if you're doing a campaign, especially a paid, either through Google or an ad agency or something, a lot of times they'll put a pixel on your website so you can kind of track and gauge and analyze things. And I do recommend those, because anytime you've got data to analyze, yeah, the data nerd in me, yeah, it helps, but it helps make more informed decisions, which is great, because you don't want to waste your money on marketing that's not working. And if you want some self-help on this stuff, this is great to go with the pixel information, because it is a little challenging. I'm not an expert in installing pixels on people's websites, unfortunately. So, but now you find this, and it suggests that the best times to post are between 6 to 9 p.m. and 3 to 6 p.m. and 9 to 12 p.m. Now, I was gonna add another post on a second page with totally different numbers. My point is, you can find all kinds of stats on when's the best time to post. And for that individual, maybe that rang true. But the thing is, our target markets are all gonna be different. Their habits and behaviors are gonna be different. There's sometimes a general consensus. I feel like the general consensus across the board with a lot of the social media, from what I've read, is 3 p.m. on Wednesday seems to be a magic hour. I guess it's that midway point in the week. People are more on their Facebooks at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And they say, you know, Saturdays are sometimes your worst day to post if you're trying to really drive people to a certain thing. I mean, obviously post on a Saturday if you've got an event going on or you want to tell them about something on Saturday. But I'm just saying, if you're trying to run a big marketing campaign, it's probably not the best day to do that. And this kind of just talks about that again. And I guess we did talk about Facebook pixels a little bit more. Again, they're tracking the conversions, tracking if people follow to make that sale. It improves your audience targeting because you're able to analyze who's actually looking at things and going to your website. And you, again, maximize that return on your advertising spend. And that's something I don't really have a slide on either, but it's very important. You can put all the marketing out in the world. If you're not getting sales from it, you're kind of wasting your money. So, you know, if you're not, I hear people say, well, Facebook marketing or social media marketing or blah, blah marketing just doesn't work for me. You can try it once, and if you don't succeed, that doesn't necessarily mean that channel doesn't work. Just pivot the way you're going about it. Use more of those detailed pieces and, you know, get more of your target market interests and stuff in your, you know, use that ad manager versus doing a boost ad, which is a little bit more generic. Just play around with things, do the A/B testing, see what works for you, and then you kind of got a formula for success moving forward once you kind of figure out what people are responding to. Because you're not only trying to get new customers, but you're trying to have loyal customers too that come back to you. Retargeted ads. Of course, we see these. We're on a website shopping for shoes, and then those same pair of shoes haunt us on Facebook or Google or whatever it is. So Facebook, Google, there are some big companies that work with the retargeting ad people to show those ads on their medium. And it can be an effective tool, especially if you're in your website analytics and you're noticing people are leaving things in the shopping cart a lot, because you can see that. Or, you know, they come on and go off very quickly, which may be actually an issue with your website if they're leaving it as soon as they get on it. But the retargeted ad just kind of puts that same thing that they were thinking about in their face again. And it can be effective. I know it's worked for me personally. It's like, darn it, I want that. So consider using that too, especially if you're selling things online. Let's see. There's some self-help on that too. And that retargeted can go to your lookalike followers too. So even if they maybe didn't click on that, it may be may resonate with them more. Okay, so we talked about the good things about Facebook. What's bad? Well, I've read a lot of things from different business owners about them not getting the same return on their investment, because you can kind of count, you know, how much that ad costs you based on, especially if you're doing directly a conversion like a purchase or a lead, you can kind of figure out, you know, out of how many people purchased from that campaign. That's why those trackers are like bit-buys are important, because it helps you track that and see who actually is purchasing. And then you can basically, you know, see what the success is. But Apple, being a fairly large cell phone company, has kind of changed the way they put their privacy settings out. They're kind of feeling pressure from, you know, about because our privacy seems to be overtaken, like they listen to us, and, you know, us as consumers are kind of getting fed up with that. It's like, how much are they listening to us? And so Apple made it easier to opt out of that. So it's like more in your face, whereas most of us, we forget about it, you know, and we don't go into our privacy settings. So that affects, so now they can't track your cookies and stuff on like Facebook, whereas they used to. So they would have your buying history and, you know, any history connected to that cell phone. Now if your customers are opting out of that, there's less data, I guess, to really be super targeted. Now, having said that, Facebook's still a great tool because of all the data they collect just on their site about people. So it's still a great tool, but not, you know, the heyday of having this great return on your investment in Facebook advertising's kind of gone to the wayside a little bit.
So one of the falters that I found too is that I could boost an ad and it go up successfully, and then I might boost it again, and Facebook is like flagging it, like, hey, you can't post this. This is like maybe if I put up a hiring ad and I ask, you know, we're in the industrial setting, so one time I put 18 and older, those are their requirements, and it got taken down for discrimination. And I actually pulled up one of them. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is a hiring ad where someone's just doing a huddle, and it's like all hands in, you know, all different skin colors, whatever. And this was up for like a couple of days before it got taken down. And then I asked them for a review from it, and I actually got banned from posting anything on there because that picture doesn't meet their discrimination practices. So that'd be a huge falter with Facebook, is now you have to be very conscious of what you're posting, what you're saying, what you can put in a jobs ad versus what you can put in an actual ad. I know, Zach, you've been kicked off a couple times too. We're just basically posting,
Well, it's
and
a
it goes
computer,
once and then
it's
not
not
again.
a human that's looking at these
Yeah.
ads, and the computers, like I said, they get them wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I can't do anything on mine either.
And then when you ask it for a review, there's not a human there reviewing it, so they're just kind of, I guess I see where you're saying, make sure that you.
Suck it up and make it new.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
There are definitely some faults with Facebook, and I think part of it is that lack of being able to connect with a human, because I've had a client that they got hacked, their Facebook account got hacked and they couldn't get back in. But now they've got all these followers, they had to create a new Facebook page because Facebook wouldn't let them have their password back, and it was a huge mess. But yeah, if you ever have issues, like I'm beginning to think I should just start from scratch too, because I feel like my page is doomed. And I'm sorry if that happens to any of you guys, but so we'll talk a little bit about Instagram too. Like we said, it's great for, you know, if you've got pictures or videos you want to showcase. You don't need fancy video camera or equipment either. I think we're moving a lot in that direction of not needing the fancy equipment, because people don't want to be sold to. They want a connection. They want a human connection. They don't want to feel like you're spamming them or something. So being real, and that's why I tell people, don't be afraid to be live. If you screw up, actually your audience is going to probably respect you a little bit more, unless you screw up in a bad way. But I guess that can happen too. You know, our mouths and stuff get in the way sometimes. But, you know, be real, be authentic, be genuine. Don't try to be a salesperson.
If I could put something in here. So, for those people that don't know, I'm Zach. Hi. So, when we go live on NewsForce 24/7 and NewsForce247.com, I go live a lot. You can ask Anna. She watches half of them. She does. But I could mess up 500 times. But out of those 1,000, 2,000 people that are sitting there watching, maybe one person is going to say something. And even then, like you said, you get that one negative comment, you still have 1,099 or 999 people that are still there wondering what in the world's going on, and why is this person being a douchebag, sorry.
I always block them people that leave.
But again, you can go live a million times. You're not gonna be perfect every single time. I promise you that. I'm not. But when you're on a personal level, we had just had the storms come through. We were out at 2 o'clock and, my wife told me I wasn't a storm chaser and I got mad at her. But, we were out until about 2 o'clock in the morning, Tuesday morning, and talking with people on a level of, hey, Zach's not up here, he's down here with you guys. Sorry, business call coming in. We make it personable for everybody. You know, I had some person say, well, you know, we're driving around Marion County, and one person said, I am having the hardest time trying to get a hold of my parents out at Blue Willow Trailer Park. So what did I do? I drove out to Blue Willow Trailer Park. Noticed that there were lines down in front of the trees. We got in touch with dispatchers, told them, hey, we can't have people coming through here because there's live power lines across the street. But I was able to show that person that her mom's trailer was all lit up. They could see that she was okay. Being on that personal level gained us, in the past week alone, almost 300 new followers. Because we are personable with them. I could be 10 TV, NBC4 or whatever, and I could just talk to you and, you know, tell you what's going on. But if you're on that personal level with them, it means a great deal of difference here in the Marion community or anywhere that you go.
Definitely priceless when you can create that,
Yeah.
for sure.
When you say don't try to be a salesperson, how do you make it to where you don't know if you're, how can you think, then define that, like, how do you know if you're sound like a salesperson without trying to sound like a salesperson?
You gotta throw in some sales, promotion, and discounts, obviously, because that's what you're trying to do. But again, people aren't coming to be sold to these sites. So a lot more of your posts should be geared around entertaining them, being personal, showing the personal side of you and your business, because people like that. They want to do business with a human. So don't be afraid to show some personal images and stuff on your social media.
I did work at Channel 10 for about 6 years, and I think, you know, you would definitely want to balance it. What's news you can use? So, like, Jill's a travel agent. When I booked my cruise with my husband through her, she had a font of great information. You know, here's the best travel tags. Here's the things you're going to do. Here's the, you know, the secrets to your success. And those are all things that are interesting to me, you know. Sometimes she tells us about different places that she and her husband have gone and, you know, what that was like. So I've never been to Cancun. I was really disappointed that the sheriff won that Cancun trip. We won so many things at the meeting. She and I fundraiser, but not the cruise. I was, dang it, I'm in the running. But, you know, things like that can be helpful to your audience. You know, sometimes it's interesting news stories. So a lot of people these days are worried about college debt, right? Inflation's going up. People are worried about gas, not having enough money. I found an article that said that somebody went to Oberlin, got a degree in philosophy, spent like $118,000, some crazy amount of money. The average pay with that 4-year degree was $18,000 a year, you know. But if you go to TC for a 2-year degree in, say, stenography, you could spend $11,000 and get a salary making $63,000 a year. So, you know, interesting facts that are a return on investment. So I'm not directly saying, you know, be a stenographer now, but I'm saying, hey, did you realize?
That's
You know,
Yeah, like
that's
we
kind
have
of
a company gives away free monthly gas gift cards.
so
I thought about doing some kind of live showing, you know, how it works and stuff like that. I don't know, would that be considered a salesperson trying to sell? Because that's really helping people out right now with gas
Yeah,
prices.
yeah.
People love freebies. Anytime you can give away freebies, that will definitely get engagement on your posts. You know, they do contests all the time just to get new likes and followers.
We are all in sales. Whatever business you're in, you are in sales.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if you're the visitor center, you are the news force, you are, out of these jobs, we have no products we're selling. Matter of fact, most of our services are free. You are still in sales. You are selling your business, your thing, you're selling that, and I guess it's the level. No one wants to be sold to in a high-pressure sales type environment. So I think there's that line that you came across or not cross, but every one of us in this room is in sales. I don't care if you're with the chamber, anybody else, yes.
Don't you think the word is awareness? I really think that's a huge word in marketing. If you're making people aware of something they didn't know before or reminding them of something that they've forgotten, that is sales, but it is also helpful.
Yeah.
So I think the information you're saying and how you're saying it, I'm trying to help you remember that Marion is an amazing place to live and play, right? So, yeah,
Anytime you can add value to them.
absolutely.
I think, things that, the things that I do that get the most traction are when people see people they care about. Proud parents bragging on their kids, people that know our professors and think they're amazing. So, I did not take great pictures, but I was at our Police Officers Training Academy graduation. Kirsten is my cohort. She's a great photographer. She's got a little Instagram with really cool pictures. But so many proud parents and local law enforcement and other alumni just wanted to say, congratulations, good job, well done, so proud of you and I'm excited for your future. So, maybe it's once a week we do a customer of the week, Bob comes in every Tuesday with his lunch bunch, here's a picture of Bob and his lunch bunch. We're so excited about him. Here's a randomly weird fact about Bob. We're going to give him a free coffee or something, showing that local connection. My stepson works for Wyandotte. He loves wearing his t-shirt he got for going out in the community and helping, pick up trash at a park or something like that. He was really excited about that, here's Wyandotte, giving back to the community. So I think there's lots of ways to show community involvement and interaction. Yeah, fun nuggets you can use, things that are interesting, things that are helpful, that aren't just like sell, buy this product now. But did you know? Hey, or have you thought about? Or what does the customer really like about your new product? Or
I don't do product, I do services, so.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what business are you with again?
I'm with ACN, we do part of Ohio Acid, Columbia Gas, credit card part purchases, identity theft protection, God, we do it all, healthcare.
Wow, so that's really big and broad, and that can be hard to do. But that's where building out your social media calendar, there's an awareness day for literally everything. Happy Taco Day, Happy Hot Dog on a Stick Day, and we do promote, there's cybersecurity months and stolen identity months that we do in partnership with some of our IT guys. So, finding that article about that crazy guy that got catfished by some lady in Singapore and gave her thousands of dollars before he flew to Singapore and found out she was not a real person and she'd been making up all the sob stories about how she was sick and needed help with her medical bills. Those are news stories that you can find and be like, hey, did you know, more seniors, I get worried because I get calls all the time from Google talking about my listing and I always hang up on them because I don't know. They're probably really from Google. So I don't hang up the phone, but seniors sitting at home that are lonely and bored, sometimes I'll talk to those people and then they end up calling. So maybe that's a perfect way to talk about identity theft and how you protect your clients or your customers. Or did you know, the free signing into the free Wi-Fi can be good and also dangerous. 5 tips to know, or how to make your phone more secure. Or what do you do if that happens?
So I think just target certain services, we have a lot of services, dish, TV, spectrum.
So if you did an ad, you'd probably focus on just one of those to be
At a
most
time here and
effective.
there, and
Yeah.
just kind of inputting on their security systems and stuff. Or one each day and target a different service each day.
Yeah, a theme or a rotation. These are the main areas we want to hit. I get that with the college because we've got 60 different majors and fields you can go into. So it's hard to. Everybody feels like their fields are getting attention.
I have to be honest, I get nervous when it comes to one live break. People look at me, or make fun of me, or I'm not gonna look good, or something.
But is there somebody in your company that does like that stuff? Because usually there's somebody that likes talking. Yeah.
Well,
I gotta get used to it.
Yeah.
break the ice.
Practice makes perfect. I'm
That's
such an
right.
introvert. I used to hate getting up in front of people. I'm still nervous, but it gets better.
But that realness also is what people are attracted to. You know, if you know, that making those mistakes. So I'd post on Facebook videos like when I was in New Orleans and different things like that. And I screw up, but I just keep rolling through it, and people, they don't.
People like when you screw up because they're like, oh gosh, I'm not the only
I'm always
I'm not the only one that does
whatever.
that.
I think that just makes it more authentic.
Yeah, it makes more human.
Exactly. Not good ideas, though. I like it. It's strategy.
And you can't make everybody happy, so if you look at negative comments, I mean,
Oh, that's.
you could really,
Lord, somebody.
I need to be a movie star or something. And you see all that stuff out there about yourself.
I've been in sales for 30 years, in one form or another, from 20 years at GTE/Horizon to nursing home administration, now to insurance. And you're right, people don't like to be sold to, but people like to have conversations.
Yep.
And when you talk to someone and you find that common ground and you find that aha moment for them, I literally have a couple customers that, because I dealt with businesses at the phone company, that I helped there. They needed somewhere for their parents when I was at a nursing home, to now I've written their insurance, all through a conversation. And it's just that aha moment sometimes that people need.
Yeah, what are some things to think about? How do you start having that conversation? 'Cause that can be a minefield to walk into with your parents, you know, like, does your company sponsor a Little League team, you know? And is there a cute pictures that you can put up of the Little League team with your logo around
We
4th
do
of
try
July?
to feed kids. Everybody becomes our customer, our child is fed with zip code.
So how cool is that? you
And
know?
we even rescue animals.
Yeah, anytime you can tell a story about either what you're passionate about or what your business, you know, what maybe you have certain products that have a feel-good thing about them or something, tell that story.
I would really think about what sets your business apart from the competition? What makes it that difference? You know, like, the professor across the hall from me lives in Mount Gilead. He got hit by that big tornado and all those straight line winds that came through. So he woke up, their car's ruined, there's a tree across the street, blinds are down. So the students have been looking for him. I was like, I saw some pictures of his wife posted on Facebook. I was like, he's out trapping lumber this morning. We're gonna have to wait. But he was like, I gotta call and fight with the insurance company. I was like, oh, that sucks, because all the local insurance people here I know are nice, and you can probably have their cell phone numbers, and they will probably show up at your house if there's a crisis, if it's not, 100% of their clients. So he had an insurance agency in Mount Gilead that was out of power and also hit by the storm. So it's like they just gave me a number. But what sets the Dallas agency apart is that, that customer service and that warm feeling. So think about what are those things you want to highlight. And if you can get somebody else to do that testimonial for you, that is fantastic. So maybe you don't like stock, but maybe you got a chatty customer that loves to talk about that. Or I'm so excited that my new account's going to do this. Or this makes my life easier. And how? Get them to tell their friends and tag their friends in
That's
it.
very effective.
Yeah, and maybe that's the push.
Right now, I want to tag, she got $200 of gift cards, so I'm gonna have to do what you said, put it on live.
Yep. Maybe give her another free gift card for her travels or something.
Yeah.
Or record a little, 10, 15, 20-second video. People have attention spans of like
Yeah,
goldfish
you gotta
these
keep it
days.
short.
So, that's one nice thing that's nice and short is just give me the 10-second version there. It doesn't have to be big or fancy, but it has to, what makes them excited about that. So, and cute dogs and animals, people say sex sells, but really, cute kids and animals cannot go wrong with putting any of that in your advertising at any time. There are very few places in which you get in trouble for using cute kids and or animals, and they are probably not here at the chamber this morning.
Do we need a break, or do we want to keep going? Okay, let's take a quick 5-minute break and come back at it. Hashtag. So hashtags, I've done some research on this, and some businesses and experts will say 3 to 5 hashtags are optimal, and then Instagram comes in and says 3 to 18 is optimal, and then you read some articles that says use every hashtag you can possibly do. So again, it's one of those see what sticks. I think the big takeaway with hashtags is just like the black hat tricks of putting keywords in because you know those keywords are popular and you're trying to drive them to your site. Don't do that, you know, just because it's a popular hashtag. If it's not relevant to your product or service, don't put it in because that's going to detract from your success a bit.
So, I love research and everything research, so I did a research project on hashtags in the marketing industry, and I ended up going to nationals for it in high school. But I'm open limit and all the things I'm involved in extracurricular and also in Ohio is if you create a hashtag specific for your company, you can have your members use it, and then that also builds up your algorithm and Instagram, and people can follow it, as well as it will bring more traffic back to your page on Facebook and Instagram as well. So we try to utilize that. And I mainly use like 35 just because it's simpler and doesn't overflow your Instagram, but also can bring people back and allows people to be more interactive, especially if you're offering giveaways.
And it's great too, even on Facebook, for if you're wanting to track certain things that your customers are putting on. That's an excellent point. Have, you know, you can even make contests about it or something, make a post with this hashtag or something, so because it'll show up in search feeds. That's the whole point of hashtags. When you search certain stuff, it's actually keying in on a lot of those hashtags and stuff. So that's a great way to use it. Like Richland Chamber, they wanted to create some campaign, so they did the Richland Rocks, like Cleveland Rocks. And so everything they did for a few years was that hashtag. And it worked for them. And now when you search that, you can find all kinds of pictures from events and stuff that they've been involved in.
The only downfall that I've really found with hashtags, though, is even with Facebook, because now Facebook, you can go in and privatize your profile. So, like, say Wendy, I'm not friends with Wendy, but she's got a private profile for all of her stuff, you know, family stuff, whatever. She doesn't want the whole world seeing what's going on. When you go in and search that hashtag, and maybe she went ahead and put it in one of her posts, but because her profile is private, I still can't see that.
Oh, yeah. So you got to remember that too.
Yeah, so it would have to be a public post in order for you to be able to access those hashtags.
Good
So,
point. A lot of people are in private settings. But everything you do, and the one thing with Instagram that's a little different than everybody else, everything on that should flow like a beautiful picture. Your fonts, your colors, your themes, it should look very cohesive in like one brand and not very hodgepodge. So, wake up. Oh, sorry. It's working. There we go. So, this is kind of an example. I almost think this is too perfect. I don't know. You almost probably have to have certain picture editing things because I don't think real pictures look like that. But that's a really good way to create a brand, you know, using the same color palettes and stuff. Here's a few other examples, just, you know, similar pictures, just the way you format it. And this person even went a step further and put borders around all theirs. And so, yeah, you can play around with that. If you haven't done that with Instagram and you don't have a huge following yet, maybe consider ditching it or at least deleting some pictures that aren't necessarily relevant. And again, we'll post this as the best time. That's very similar to Facebook. Facebook is owned by Instagram. Makes it somewhat easier to use. And yeah, best day for Instagrams is Saturdays, whereas others say Saturdays is really bad. So maybe people are just bored looking at Instagram. And I just think this is kind of funny, the whole war going on with Musk and Twitter. So, the interesting thing I found about Twitter is cost per engagement on Twitter has declined by 42%, while ad engagements have increased by 75%. So that tells me that's a great opportunity if your target market you feel is on Twitter. And, you know, 50% of users say they're more likely to buy from a brand after following them on Twitter. And I think part of that is Twitter allows you to be less, you're not really formal on Twitter necessarily, you're more informal, you're very short, sweet, you're catering to that ADHD society that just wants to roll through things quickly, and you can be very quick and, but the bad thing about Twitter is if you're going to do a Twitter profile, it's probably the most hardest to keep up with, because in order to really be effective with it, you have to post a lot more regularly on Twitter than maybe other formats. And again, it's not to sell, it's to build relationships and trust. And if you want to look at some good platforms, check out some of these. Just kind of look at their platforms and see how they use it for, because different companies use it for different things. Like JetBlue is more of a customer service platform. You know, you lose your luggage or something, and you can, I found you can be, at least for the larger brands, because they have social media full-time staff, if you say something negative about their brand and you tag them in that, they're going to address that very quickly. And you're probably going to get good results from that. And people realize that. So Twitter's a great thing for that. Whole Foods, they don't sell to you or tell you what's on sale. They give you recipes. So you're like, oh, I'm going to come in here and get these supplies to make this recipe. Staple, again, uses it for like customer support. Dell uses it to like engage and promote. They do like all of the above. And Dell's been really good about turning rants of their customers into raves. And that's the whole idea.
Twitter is great from a black hole standpoint. It's like when we have an exciting event on campus or something, I can live tweet that event and send out little nuggets of information, tag community partners. There's no limit to what you can put into Twitter. They do not penalize you. Whereas Facebook, if you post too much in one day, I would really not recommend going over 2, maximum 3 Facebook posts a day, because they will throw you into Facebook jail. So, but that is a good way to like check it into the unknown. You also want to think about your voice. So not just, you know, Instagram, you want your pictures to look cohesive. Like we let some of our student ambassadors post things and it just looked kind of random. And sometimes it was pictures of flyers and it was bullshit. So now we have a professional photographer that's making it look like, hey, this looks, if I'm a student or potential student, it looks like a nice place that I want to stop. But you want to think about your voice. Wendy's a savage on Twitter. I love it. She's so vicious. I think McDonald's tweeted about like, you know, some of their food, and they use little emojis, and they didn't use that ice cream emoji. And they're like, is your ice cream emoji broken too, as well as your shit? I was like, oh, I love it. And but my favorite is the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, which is totally random, but they are freaking hilarious. Like, so you want to think, what is my voice? What's my approach? How do I want to sound? You know, who do I want to make approachable? So sometimes other people post on like college's Facebook page, but like my boss is like, I always know which post are yours, because it sounds like you know, and what am I willing to do? The Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District is hilarious, and they tweet like a millennial would with like no punctuation and things like that. As a college, I just can't do it. So I'm conversational, but I can't, like, I feel as a college, I cannot look like I don't know basic or like I just, there's a line of expectations there that I can't go beyond. But, you know, think about what you want to make people to know your business, to like your business, to trust your business. So what is that persona that you want to do? How can I show that I'm helpful, I care about my community, I'm involved, you know? So think about like that voice across all of your platforms. Who do you want to know? I mean, Jill, you and Sherry are sights unseen travel. So, you know, random things that you guys like. You know, Zach, you are sports 24/7, no matter how many people, like you were the face of the organization. So, you know, so same with the new business, you know. I think that's awesome. You lived in New Orleans and now you're going to open a Cajun food place here. So telling us about your story and why you're passionate about that food, passionate about cooking, like those are all
For sure.
things that are interesting, I think, to potential viewers to go, oh, okay, it's not just somebody randomly picked a style out of my hat, but this is why that's my passion.
Yeah.
And she made an excellent point about, you know, your personality showing. Again, that's that showing that human side, and that's why some of those more snarkier ones, I mean, have a little snarky side to us. It's funny. It is much faster paced though, so your posts need to be kind of eye-catching, unique, you know, bright images and short copy that pops is popular. And again, you got to experiment with different things to see what resonates with your target audience. seeing what they're, engaging and retweeting more of, do more of that stuff. And it's probably going to be not the thing that you're trying to sell. It's going to be the random meme that you post or something, and it's going to piss you off because it's like, I spent all this. Yeah, we just had that conversation, right? And this was kind of cool because I think if you're doing any kind of social media, you should have some type of calendar to keep you in check. I don't know about you guys, but if I don't write it down in my calendar, I just typically don't do it. So if you've ever worked with me as a client, if I forget to write something down, please remind me. I take care of a lot of clients. Don't take it personally. Just reach out and say, hey. But, you should do that for your social media, be it Facebook or whatever. Have a plan of action and maybe ideas of what you're going to post on that day, so you're not scrambling, okay, not feeling it today, what am I going to post? Or doing that on a day when you're feeling creative, just throw out a lot of scheduled posts. And this just kind of gives you ideas of what you can do to make it a little more different and engaging and unique. Okay, so Snapchat, it shouldn't go without mention because it had a few falters, but it's back strong, and I feel, especially if you're targeting younger users, of course Instagram is one of those, Twitter, everybody leaves Facebook because grandma's on Facebook and grandma's getting too nosy with what I'm doing on Facebook. So we go to Snapchat. That was, at least if you got teenagers, they like it because it disappears soon. But remember that people can take a snapshot of it and it lasts forever. Everything you put on out there lasts forever, so be careful. But the fact that they get more than 14 billion video views with over 218 million users say it's something that shouldn't necessarily be ignored. I don't know if it should be a focus, but it definitely, if you've got younger target audience, maybe it should be a focus for you. And you may think, well, they're young, they don't have the money, but 40% of all consumer shopping was done by Generation Z, with 57% of millennials having spontaneously purchased something they saw on social media. And 75% of the Snapchat users are under the age of 34. So it's a great tool for reaching that market because the millennials are the biggest generation that we've had since the baby boomers. They're the biggest generation we have right now, so they're a great target. And as a restaurant, it's a great target because they eat out more than any other generation before them too. And you can create geo-filters to promote certain things or certain customer engagement, maybe a geo-filter for a specific event. It's a little bit cheaper to do a geo-filter than some of the other things you can do with Snapchat. You can purchase Snap ads just like any other thing, and that means, they show up more to your target market. You could create a sponsored lens, which is kind of cool, like that augmented reality lens thing, but you'd have to have a company to create the augmented lens for you, and then actually putting that out there. It's extremely expensive, so probably nothing you guys are gonna want to do. Aw. Shoot. I don't think I saved one of my things. Oh. No, I guess it's just a little later. The lens. I don't know if you guys remember the Taco Bell one. They created a lens where your face becomes a taco. It was hugely popular for them. Everybody was putting their faces in the taco, and it produced a lot of sales for them. But it was an extremely expensive campaign because it cost them like almost $1 million. So if you're not sure how to create a Snapchat, this kind of talks about how to do that. We'll go over those things. And if you're doing engaging content, some ideas, and this could probably be used on any of the social media formats, Q&As or interviews with employees, because again, you're wanting to show the more personal side. And I think when we're all kind of competing for employees, anytime you can even show the personal side of your workplace, it's important because people want to see what kind of culture they're getting into before they, and I think that's the younger generation. Even when I was kind of a non-traditional student going to college, And I know with my bachelor degree that basically the professors were harping on, if you don't like the culture, if you don't like where you're working at, move on. I mean, it's built into their brains that if you're not happy, don't waste your time there. Whereas previous generations, a lot of loyalty in some of those workplaces. They'd spend their whole life working at one place, but that's not the case now. So you got to be creative how you're going to keep your employees and retain. And maybe we've got somebody here who's had a lot of experience in using it to market positions to get the right people for the job. So, of course, with Snapchat, Instagram, you could use like influencers or celebrity takeovers. It doesn't have to be a celebrity, obviously, for Marion, maybe a Marion celebrity that goes back to those customer testimonials. People buy from people that they trust or like, or, you know, and obviously the younger generation, I think there's a statistic that states that they're more likely to purchase something if a social influencer tells them to buy it than even their friend. So that's pretty powerful. Yeah, there's just some ideas you can kind of do. It's really interesting if you've got an interesting process to making, you know, even back in the kitchen, making something. People love to see that kind of stuff. Maybe little snippets of what you're manufacturing or what you're doing behind the scenes, or a day in the life of you. We talked about that. YouTube, we can't. YouTube's important. You know, people make whole $1 million businesses just on YouTube. Wish I could be one of those people. But you can still use it too, and it's more of a collaborative tool because you can make videos from YouTube and maybe even have a channel that people can subscribe to if they want. It helps if you're giving a service. Maybe you give them just enough information to where they're interested to come to you. You know, if you're in a self-help things, or even like someone who does social media marketing would maybe put out a video. But the idea is you're hoping people follow your YouTube channel, or you hope they reach out to you for more personal one-on-one services or whatever, because you're trying to show yourself as an expert or somebody relatable, or, you know, whatever the case may be. Good way to showcase products and stuff, especially if you don't want to go live. You want to have that capability to edit what you do because you're just so nervous about it. LinkedIn, of course, it's more for professional companies, for finding talent for your organization too. And great for if you're trying to come off as an expert in your field. You could put different articles out there. You can connect with other people and collaborate, and you know. You could purchase software that scrubs the web for any mentions of your business too. Not exactly sure how expensive that is. I'm sure it's kind of pricey just because any big box retailer or franchised restaurant, any big company uses this nowadays. It basically analyzes the emotions and sentiments of your customers. So, and it helps too because they're all trying to put out fires, these social media experts and these working for these companies, because there's always going to be fires. Don't take it personally. Some people just having a bad day and they're projecting it onto you and your company. But how you address it's important, and we'll talk about that here shortly. But you can kind of get an insight of what people really feel about you, because maybe you're putting out all this marketing, or maybe just in the customer service and how your company operates, you're not aware of something that, a sentiment that a customer feels about you. And if you're seeing something negative, you know, you should try to do something to change that or rectify that. And there's a few companies you can subscribe to have them do this, basically. Addressing the negative. Do not get into an argument. You know, I think we've all gotten angry. Short people, short-tempered. Yeah. I've been there. But I think we all have been angry about a situation, and then maybe a day later after we've thought about it, we've calmed down and we're like, it's not worth engaging in. And definitely for your brand, because you don't want to come off half the time when you argue, you sound worse than the person that had the negative comment. So you don't want to come off that way. And your customers are watching that because they're, you know, and I wouldn't necessarily delete necessarily negative comments unless they are just harassing and spamming or, you know, vulgar or whatever. But leave it there so you can demonstrate to your customers how you handle that situation. Be empathetic. Be transparent and sincere about the situation. If you screwed up, admit it. There's so much to be said for that, and people will respect you for that. And directly respond to the comment once in the comment section. Don't go more than one time though, because just like anything with your brand association, if somebody Googles your brand name, that negative comment might show up. So you don't want a whole string of negative comments that people can read through. Ask them to handle it. Hey, can you private message me your phone number or email or whatever, and we'll get this taken care of so you're happy again.
I always deleted their comments.
Well, if they're vulgar or they're spammy, but if they're just saying, it gives you an opportunity to sometimes address issues that your naysayers are thinking that aren't even commenting too. So it's actually a good selling, low key selling aspect where you can kind of show how your company handles a problem, or you know, you can kind of come back and correct whatever their thoughts are on your company.
Yeah, I've had people like I post something and like spam. I'm like, how do you get spam? I mean, there's proof right here. Where do you see spam on here? I hate it when people post that. Like, so I just delete them and block them.
Have you guys, I'm a nerd, I use consumer reports and the Better Business Bureau website. And anytime I think of a new company, that's a good place that I go. And sometimes you'll see the complaints. And sometimes, you know, there are crazy customers out there that have crazy. My aunt was once involved with a high maintenance customer who sued the company because her bright light wasn't white enough in her new kitchen.
Oh,
Like, that person is insane. But for me, if I see, you know, maybe one or two complaints, but then the customer has a very nice, well thought out response, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's a, you know, nobody does something, nobody bats 1,000, right? But they listened, they responded, they made it right, and that to me says, hey, that's a decent company that takes care of their people. And sometimes, you know, that might give you something to say, like, oh, I thought you guys did X, Y, or Z. Maybe there's a misconception in the community about you. Maybe that's something you want to post on or address or throw in a newsletter. You know, I didn't know you guys did that. I didn't know that was an option. I didn't know I could do that here. So maybe that's something you could highlight that you know as an employee, but maybe the public doesn't. So.
I mean, how do you reply to someone when they say spam? What is your...
Maybe
Well,
point
that's-
out the reality of what you actually offer, or, but if, for that type of person, they may just be argumentative and it may be a lost cause. So after that first comment, I wouldn't engage in arguing back and forth on why they're wrong and you're right.
Yeah, you know, you could just like I said, there's two audiences, the person that complains and then everybody else watching that conversation. So if you say, hey, I'm surprised by your comment, you know, I'm happy to, can you tell me a little bit more about your concerns in a DM? Maybe send me your contact information. And then whether or not they follow up or not, everybody else that saw that was like, oh, they reached out, they addressed it, they were willing to listen to a hard thing.
That's a good idea.
So, you know, it doesn't cost you anything to say, I'm sorry you feel that way, I'm sorry, you know. So as long as you sound reasonable and concerned, and you're a live person, you responded to them. So it wasn't just block and delete. I would probably have a policy too in case anybody ever challenges that. Again, as a public agency, we fall into a weird category, but it's good to have a public policy about how those get handled. So, like, you know, a lot of times if somebody posts something that clearly looks like a link to a scam or something like that, I'll screenshot it, save it, let my boss know, and then hide or change or delete if that's the situation. So if somebody ever comes back and says, why did you do that? Does it look like you were trying to get people to buy stuff from Nigeria? We don't think he's
Thank you.
For sure. So, you know, I just mentioned people will tag companies when they're pissed off. People always remember a negative experience much longer, and if a company does something negative, they're going to remember that about you much longer than anything positive you can do. So they addressed it very quickly, and I'm thinking maybe Maria's maybe happy because she probably got some free coffee out of the deal, and hopefully they won't screw her coffee up again. Storytelling, it's worth mentioning because anytime you have a story to tell, I know we've talked about that. Not everybody has a cool story that should necessarily be shared, but maybe certain products or why you went into business, why you're passionate about something. Maybe you created this business because you had a personal problem in the marketplace and you were addressing that problem because most likely other people have had similar problems. So anytime that you can make a story that's emotionally connective to your target audience, it just increases your brand favorability. And it lets your personality stand out, because that's a thing we're hearing a lot of, human personality. Again, we don't want to be spammed. And the approach is important too.
I think as somebody who works at a college, I have a lot of people that like to do information dump, and they can tell you everything about everything in their area, but people will not remember any of those statistics or those dates, any of those things, but they will remember a story. So, Jill, I'm happy to tell people that, I went on my cruise and the hotel couldn't find a reservation, and we were tired and it was hot and we were in Miami, and I just called you and we sat in the bar and had drinks while you called them up, took care of it, we got our hotel, life was good. So that was a huge investment in a
Found
really
your testimony here.
So yeah, if you've got loyal customers, have them share those stories, have them write those testimonials on your page. Maybe somebody feature one a week, collect all those happy customers that you can, the person who woke up in the middle of the storm damage and Scott went out, put an arm around them, make sure that they, got through to their insurance policy, help them, whatever that is. Like, people like to know that, and that's how you stand out from the crowd. So if you get those, that is worth a free coffee or a free t-shirt or a free whatever you get. And a lot of people don't mind sharing those testimonials too.
It should just be relatable, and it should be a unique story that leads to them liking you and trusting you more. And the ultimate thing is to gain their loyalty, so they keep coming back and they tell their friends and family. And so I just threw this in here on, how a story, what makes a good story, so you can kind of use that in crafting the story. It should come from the heart, though. It should be like having a personal conversation, again, not like being sold to. And that's why you should kind of craft it first a little bit. So you can also tell the important points that are driving why your company is valuable too. Don't be afraid to stick that in. But everybody, the thing is with marketing, the consumers are worried about what's in it for me. So if you can either make a connection or give them some type of benefit that they can't live without, you're doing something great. So I always like to throw this in here. Why buy local? Of course, I don't have to tell you guys why you should buy local, because you're trying to tell the whole world why they should buy local themselves, but obviously helps communities. And now that kind of leads us also into our downtown discussion. A lot of the businesses around here, it doesn't necessarily mean downtown, but some of these tips help just because you're all in this literally together in this little geographical area. So there's some things that you should, and for a lot of people this goes without saying, and a lot of you are probably already doing this correctly, but I have been in a lot of retail settings where it's like, I don't know why they're not, doing X, Y, Z. It just seems obvious. And while we're on that front, if you're a restaurant, please put your menu on your social medias, and not just this picture that you can't blow up and see. That aggravates me, because I'm one of those that'll plan where I'm going to eat sometimes, and I think a lot of people are like that. Thanks. And so And if you've got specials of the week, post those every week and be very consistent about that too, because sometimes that'll make me come to your restaurant more than go to the other restaurant I'm thinking of, because I really like that special.
And then one of the things that I see very recently, especially from a younger generation, and my just from social media observation class the other day, is if you have food, if it's more of like a chain, not chain restaurant, more of a restaurant, taking the time to take pictures of how you visualize it, how you put it together, kind of behind the scenes. There are a lot more people than normal because a lot of us are like, oh, that food looks good, I'll go try it today since it's in the local area. Especially if you're not from around the area, since I'm 35 minutes from here, I'm like, oh, I'll go try this place because it's closed and I've never had it before, especially if it's like a total hole.
I totally agree with that too. Showing the behind the scenes process, sometimes I don't know or realize, oh, they slow cooked that meat, or they took so much time. You know, you don't see that, what goes into making your meal, and sometimes that's important. Or just taking pictures of what you make to begin with, especially retail or restaurants. Take a picture of your stuff. Take a picture of your store and inside. Make sure everything has a price tag on it. I'm quiet, introverted, and you know, some of my more extroverted business clients are surprised by this, but I'll tell them, if I go into a store and I don't see a price tag, I'm not likely to ask the sales clerk what that costs, because I feel like if you gotta ask, you can't afford it type of thing, or something, I don't know. I don't ask unless I really want it. Or if you're promoting a sale and you're not putting sale signs up, or you know, indicating that there's a sale or whatever, just simple stuff. Displays should be visually appealing, shouldn't be too crowded. I've been in a few shops where it's like, I get it, you're trying to put as much inventory because each square inch is valuable. But if you cram it so far, I've heard of customers getting overwhelmed and literally walking out of shops because it's like, there's just so much to look at, I'm just so overwhelmed. This isn't the blue light special at Kmart where you're digging for the deals. If you have a boutique setting, it's a more high-end experience, and it should be easy to find, and you know, your customer service should be on point. And it goes without saying, but I've also worked with retailers that had the personality and the customer service skills of a fish, and it ultimately led to them closing their business because they were almost downright mean to their customers, or kind of, you know, they'd have a bad day at home and they take it out on their customers. You got to leave that at home. You got to tell your employees to leave that at home, and that can be hard, especially, you know, employees have bad days and they're gonna. So hopefully you're giving them strategies to try to mitigate that, or you know, what your expectations are, making the customer feel important. And I do tell people that the customer isn't always right, because I've seen definitely situations where maybe you just don't want to deal with that customer ever again. So, but there are times when they're just aggravated about something. So try to talk them down off the ledge. Try to give them what they want, as long as it's reasonable or whatever. But some people you just can't make happy. And we talked about sensory marketing. Consider using some of that in your store too. Certain scents, certain sounds played on your music. There's some licensing with music, but I won't get into that. Anything to kind of further entice customers and get them in the right frame of mind for purchasing, making them feel relaxed or making them feel at ease, you know, in your store. Because, you know, you're competing with Amazon, and these are the ways you compete with Amazon. Because people are still looking for the experience, they're still looking to touch, feel, see, sense, you know, the items in your store. And sometimes they're just wanting to connect to other people too, so sometimes consider events for your shop and stuff, because bringing people together, you know, women like to get out for a night and go with their friends and do a shop and sip, or, you know, so that can sometimes bring people together, and it allows you to be in an informal environment to kind of engage with your customers and be a friend to your customers. And collaboration is key in so many ways, but as a business owner, and I hear this repeatedly from people that are kind of nervous, oh, well, Susie's opening a similar store down the way and it's making me nervous. In a way, yes, they're all competing for your dollar, basically, because the consumer has only so much money to spend and, you know. But at the same token, if you have similar target markets, most likely their customers are going to come into your store and vice versa. So you can kind of play off that and be a good player. You know, if you don't have what the customer's looking for, but your competitor does, send them to your competitor in that case. That customer will remember that because you're telling them relevant information. You're helping them. They just want to be helped. They don't care who. Of course, you'd rather they purchase that from you, but if you don't have it, why not send them down the road? The customer will remember that, and the store will remember that. Maybe a store goes out, your power goes out, you need, you know, those competitors are also kind of your neighbors, you know. And it creates like this destination atmosphere. I feel like we're becoming, in Marion, a destination for good eateries. I mean, I like coming to Marion and eating lunch. I never pack my lunch, but I come to Marion. Probably a lot of bad food that I shouldn't eat too, but then there's a lot of little shops coming. A lot of these downtown areas are growing and becoming these destination hubs. So, you know, if you don't already have a Main Street or organization that helps with some of the downtown businesses and organizing events and stuff, considering getting your heads together to develop one yourself. You know, two heads are better than one type of mentality. If you're advertising for a specific like shop hop event, you can all go in together on the advertising cost and sharing that cost. And plus, whoever follows their Facebook page will now see what you're offering and vice versa. So you've got that cross marketing and collaboration going on. And if you can bring two businesses together in a selling position, that's well too, for the same reasons, basically. So think of who could I partner with on something, or, you know, even on an advertising thing, or, you know, play off of each other a little bit. And let's see. I am going to include some additional things in your, like if you are a downtown business and want to do like a shop hop event, I've created some ideas for how to kind of make that more successful, and how that collaboration is beneficial. And then I'll also send you guys some, I just developed this list a while back of different Facebook posting ideas. When you're feeling kind of stuck and like, I don't know what to post today, use that to maybe sit down and schedule a bunch of posts at once, and then you don't have to worry about it for a little bit. But again, write it down on your calendar or enter it in your phone, or however you do that. Do we have any questions, or maybe people that want to share something that worked or didn't work with them? Everybody's like, I want to get out of here. I've been sitting here too long.
So maybe my last plug will be with your business tips is to keep your business clean. Because over 90% of customers say that they will not revisit a business if they encounter even just a dirty restroom. So
I totally agree with that.
clean actually equals green. To keep them coming back to you.
Yeah, and that's a great selling point for even your business too, right? Any others? All right, well, if you could fill out the evaluation, that'd be great. If you haven't already signed in, please take a few minutes to do that, and make sure I have your email so I can send you the PowerPoint. And thank you guys for coming. Thank you. Thanks.